Lily Norva has been doing astrophotography since 2020, and she has captured a number of UFOs in video and also photos. She has been communicating with some of the occupants of these craft, which are extraterrestrials. She has been in communication with a variety of different extraterrestrials, including beings from the Andromeda constellation. She has been getting information about 3i Atlas, and some of her updates are very startling in terms of what is happening right now in our world.
You're listening to Exopolitics Today with Dr. Michael Salla, your source for the uncensored truth regarding the human, extraterrestrial, global, and political agenda. Click the like button and subscribe to this channel. And now, here's Dr. Michael Salla.
Great to have you back on the show, Lily. Welcome back.
Hey, thanks so much for having me. Yeah, lots to talk about, lots of exciting things going on.
Yes. Well, you began with the astrophotography, so it must still be something that I'm sure excites you, that you continue to take these photographs of craft, and you sent me some of these photos of your latest, your recent adventure, I think in was it Arizona? So yeah, why don't you tell us what's going on with these craft that you sent me some of the images of?
Yeah, so I would highly recommend people go to see the video of it too. It's on my channel. Then you can really see how these different craft are moving in different formations. They change speed, they change direction. But this was filmed on September 9th. I took my night vision camera out to Bradshaw Ranch, actually in Sedona. So Bradshaw Ranch is known for being like a big hotspot, a massive portal. There's a lot of activity there. But it's off of the site. It's not like right in town. So you're away from people. And so we went out there and I just felt called to going out there and bringing my camera gear. I don't always do that anymore. I used to have basically like a contract with these extraterrestrials. We had an agreement where I would go out and they would show up and I would film them. So that was really the beginning of our relationship. And it grew from there. But so I was called out to go out there that night. And it was right after the first time I tuned into 3i Atlas, actually. And after the first time I tuned into it, and I got some really interesting information that startled me. I was not expecting it whatsoever. I felt their presence very heavily. And they told me to get my camera ready. They kept telepathically, I could hear them in my head, get your camera ready, get your camera ready. So then I got it ready. And then these crafts start appearing and they go in different formation. They made a triangle formation at first. And we had probably at least 7 of them that appeared. And like I said, they were going different height, speed, changing direction. They were making really interesting formations. And I felt it was a combination of different extraterrestrials. So this is a long exposure photograph. So then you can see taken by Dr. Jürgen Hess, who was with us that night. You can see the different directions that they're going. There's about 5 or 6 that you can see right there, and they're all going different directions. So it's not a satellite. But I felt there was a combination of different beings there. I felt heavily a Lyran presence as well as Arcturian and other beings. So that was exciting.
Yes, that was definitely exciting. And we do have the video clip that I can play. So these are all extraterrestrial craft. You didn't feel or sense that there was any kind of secret space program involvement with these craft?
Well, it felt very extraterrestrial, very cosmic. But I do know that one of the beings who I connect with regularly is also working with aspects of Solar Warden.
I see. Okay. And which being was that?
He's an Arcturian.
Interesting.
Yeah, he's Arcturian. He looks a little bit different than typical Arcturians. He has lighter skin, a little bit. Actually, have a picture. Maybe I could send you representation of what's very similar to what he looks like. But yeah, he's involved with solar warden, so I'll see him from time to time, and sometimes he'll give me updates. But I often feel his presence. I kind of feel like he's watching over us here in Sedona.
Very interesting. And these beings that are on the craft, they're kind of like encouraging you to take photos of the craft as well, just so that you have a little bit of evidence, because it's not usual for contactees or channelers to have evidence of the craft that the extraterrestrials they're communicating with is. So they're obviously doing that for a reason.
Yeah, it's very strategic and purposeful. So whenever I first started out, I started off as an astrophotographer. I was shooting space photography. I was not in the UFO community at all. I wasn't in the spiritual community. I had, more open beliefs. I had more of an open mind, but I wasn't into any of that. And that's how they started contacting me they would show up in craft, and they seemed to actually be jumping in front of my camera. Really, sometimes I would capture them on accident even. So yeah, the evidence portion, it was an important part for me to realize, like, oh my God, this is real. They're really here, and be able to document these experiences and proof of it. But also I believe that played a key role, because this started happening in 2020, 2021. Before UFOs were really big. It was like right in the beginning stages whenever it started trickling into the mainstream. This was also a push for disclosure and in being able to document actual proof of this. And I'll add, they don't always want you to film or record them. I've had plenty of times where they've appeared and it's just a personal experience for you. So usually they'll let me know if they want me to record them or not.
Yeah, this is the recording on YouTube that you put up of the craft, and I think you already talked about it, some of the craft, and them just interacting with for about an hour. I'll just mute that.
Yeah, I'm going crazy. I'm like, oh my God, they said get your camera ready. They were not lying. It's always amazing whenever you get that, like, the evidence of it, and it aligns perfectly. So you can see another one that's starting to come up. This is a Aurora Psionics night vision camera. It's not the best camera, so that they look like lights. It's not super detailed, but you can definitely see they're going different heights and speeds. And it's about a 6-minute clip, but they do some very interesting maneuvers. If you fast forward a little bit, there's another part where you can see them kind of interacting with each other. Well, there's another part where I circle it where they do another triangle formation, which is pretty, you might see like a red circle or something like that. Probably right there. Yeah, it's about to happen. This was pretty, so you can see them starting to come through. We've got about 4 or 5 there, and they would power up too. So, they expand, they get brighter. This happens a lot at ESETI, the power-ups. They expand. I've seen that quite a few times. That's also evidence to me that it's not like a normal craft. It's not a drone. It's not a satellite. Sometimes you'll get like satellites, but those are way high up in the sky that show maybe like a reflection of the sun or whatever. No, this is a power-up where it's expanding and illuminating.
All right, very spectacular, and as you mentioned, and this is evidence of the communications you're having with these beings, and so that's great to have that kind of corroboration. So let's move on now to 3i Atlas, which everyone is talking about, and right now it's approaching perihelion, and I think I do have a image that I can share about 3i Atlas. But yeah, while I'm putting that up, anything you want to say about what got you interested in 3i Atlas?
It's actually really funny because whenever I first heard about it, I was like, whatever, this is probably some sensational thing. Like, I actually didn't really take it serious the first time I heard about it. And then I was contacted and was told, they're like, no, you need to look into this. This is actually something. And the first session that I did on it, it was like a contact session, but I'm also tapping into like the quantum field and seeing, what comes up. And I got that it is an operation that's taking place, and that it's a conduit for frequency is what was coming through. It has quite a few different roles that it's playing simultaneously, but there's a lot of different beings involved. And it's also interacting with our sun. It's interacting with our DNA, our frequency, our consciousness, and it's helping to basically uplift us. And it's a very positive thing. And since I tuned into it that first time, I've been having amazing contact experiences and just revelations. Like I feel like I've been upgraded. Information's coming through more clear. I'm pumping out videos because all of this information and positive energy is coming through. But yeah, we can go into more detail, but that's kind of an intro.
Yeah, well, so there's its orbit, and right now it is approaching Mars, and it's making a kind of, it's approaching perihelion. But we on Earth are on the other side of the sun, so we're not going to see it. Mm-hmm. But, there are Mars orbiters, and they can turn those towards the comet. So, do you think anything special is going to happen as it approaches Mars?
Mars, that's interesting. I do feel like there is a connection there. I haven't tuned into Mars specifically, but I have been getting a strong feeling that there is some sort of a correlation there with it approaching Mars. And then as it is behind our sun, I believe it's also going to be kind of using the sun as like a portal or amplifier to be sending frequencies and kind of these remembrance codes to help upgrade us as well.
Yeah, the Mars connection is a very interesting one. Now, I did an update with JP, the former US Army insider that I've known since 2008. And he says that he was told by a Nordic extraterrestrial that that 3i Atlas is associated or linked to these returning Martians, and that they may, in fact, split off, or some of the craft that are accompanying 3i Atlas might split off and actually land on Mars, or they might actually come to Earth and kind of like join the underwater Martian civilizations. What do you say to that?
Yeah, that's really interesting. So last night, whenever I was tuning into this, okay. So I did get that, that there's also like cedar races involved in this. And it seems to be on 3i Atlas, a quantum library contained on the ship, but also DNA, genetics, and probably quite literally like seeds and other things to assist in what kind of these ancient cedar races like Pleiadian, Syrians, Lyrans, and probably many other ones who we have part of their DNA and genetics. So I don't doubt that Mars would be involved in that, and I have been getting a hit about that. But last night, whenever I was tuning in, the new information that I got that I haven't shared publicly yet, I was seeing these smaller ships around Atlas, and they're kind of like scouts, protectors, navigators, these smaller ships. And I was sensing like kind of a boarding and unboarding going on between Atlas and these other ships. And this giant seed vault filled with codes. And they said, I heard Starport, and they said that some of these smaller ships, not 3i Atlas itself, but some of these other smaller ships accompanying it, are going to be landing at starports on Earth, actually. And I asked where, and they didn't give me exact locations, but I saw the desert. I saw a lush, it seemed like a forest type area. So it seemed like multiple locations, and then another water base, I believe. I believe in the Atlantic Ocean, but I'm not 100% sure, but it felt like a water base. And I asked, what are they going to be loading for? Or what are they going to be doing? What are they landing for? And I heard they're going to be unloading and gifting things to humanity is part of why they're, and I feel also Earth Alliance meetings. They're going to be meeting with certain benevolent forces in humans on Earth. And I asked, what would they be gifting? And then I was seeing like plants, seeds, medicines for good, but really feeling like technology was going to be gifted. And I asked if this was something that we're going to know about. I feel like this is going to be kind of more covert, and some of these new medicines or technologies may come out as new discoveries that they may find in the Amazon or whatever, or say they find like a spider and it has some sort of component that can create this awesome new technology. Now that's kind of me speculating, but that was the feeling that I was getting, that some of these gifts might be disclosed, posing as new discoveries on Earth.
So, yeah, this kind of just raises the intriguing question of how much of a White Hat Alliance operation is associated with 3i Atlas. I mean, there are some people that talk about 3i Atlas being part of this kind of returning fleet of Solar Warden. I mean, that's George Kavasilis. He's been talking about that. And you got the intuitive hit that this is a White Hat Alliance operation, but also involving some older ET races like the Lyrans. So you want to explain that?
Yeah, I think it's very multidimensional and multi-layered. I get the feeling, well, and the information that I'm getting is, I asked what ETs are involved or what beings are involved, and I heard a conglomerate, a number of different things or parts that are put together, like many different races and many different factions. So I think this is a massive operation involving different aspects like the Federation, Solar Warden, positive secret space programs, and some of these ancient races. It's really intriguing. But I guess that makes sense because those are all components of who we are. So it seems like it's kind of all coming together to help push us into this next phase of awakening and disclosure is what I'm picking up on.
Okay. The Lyran connection, that is, I think, a very intriguing one, just because they are one of the cedar races. Many people talk about them. There's been some very interesting communications from something. Dave Akira, he channels different beings for the GFL station, but he also talked about the Lyrans, that this is very much associated with the Lyrans. So I thought that was interesting corroboration, because I always look for that, which contactees or channelers are independently putting out similar information, and that seemed to be, that you were putting out information that was being corroborated by what the GFL station was saying.
Right. And if you'd like me to add to that, so the first session that I did on it, I was getting White Hat operation, conduit for frequency, interacting with the solar energies, our consciousness, our DNA, and then many races are involved, but then it went into the Lyrans. And that surprised me that the Lyrans took so much kind of like front and center in this, but it makes sense because that's one of the cedar races, and the war that we're experiencing stems from the ancient Lyran and Draco war. We've been experiencing this for millions of years. So Earth is just kind of like a continuation of this. Hopefully this will become like a peace treaty, and this is like the final frontier or the final battle showdown before we can kind of end that karmic situation. But the Lyrans are an important part of who we are. Many starseeds that I'll do sessions with, whenever I would do like Akashic record sessions, most of them started off in Lyra, and then, as you probably know, that was attacked by the Draco reptilians, and they all scattered throughout. But that's the original humanoid species in our galaxy. So I find it very significant that they came forward so strong in this. And they were really talking about like these Lyran codes, these ascension codes, remembrance codes, and activating this Lyran part of our DNA and our memory. So they're bringing in their special kind of Lyran codes that are activating that part of us, which we have forgotten. So, so yeah, and it's going to activate and unlock even new gifts and abilities. And some people, through my comment section and talking to people, they're having experiences with these Lyrans and feline beings suddenly, which is pretty cool. And they're Lyran star families.
Right. So the Lyran codes that are associated with 3i Atlas or the craft that are in that kind of like configuration of, well, it's a stealth craft according to different sources. The Lyran codes, now, do they actually represent this kind of 12-strand DNA that was part of the original humans that colonized our galaxy, and the Lyrans being that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I believe so. I kept hearing divine blueprint, the divine blueprint that is being reactivated in us. And this also has to do with like with Christ consciousness and enlightenment as we are raising our frequency and expanding our consciousness. But yeah, this comes to mind. There was one vision that I received tuning into this where I saw some of these different cedar races, and I saw a human sitting on the ship. This could have just been a visual, maybe not a literal thing, but this human was sitting on this chair, kind of leaning back a bit, and there were some of these races, Lyrans included, around them. And in the whole download that I got was like the original divine blueprint, like the highest potential, humanity's highest potential. We're only functioning on about 5% of our DNA and around 5% of our brain function, like what we're actually capable of. And the human I saw was like glowing. It had this bright glowing aura, symbolizing to me that it is the divinity within the highest potential of our DNA, which a lot of it is dormant. So I think the Lyran ship coming in, well, there's other ETs and even positive humans involved in the ship, but the Lyran aspect and codes coming in are going to be activating a really important aspect of us that's really just going to be a huge boost and upgrade in DNA and activating the DNA. Yes.
Well, that kind of matches with what others are saying as well, that this 3i Atlas is going to raise the frequencies of humanity, and it's changing the frequencies of our solar system, which is why it's flying so close to several major planets. But this really intrigues me, that this carol, that it carries with it the original divine blueprint that the Lyrans have, and that this is kind of like something connected with this full human potential, that some call it 12-strand DNA, whatever you want to call it, but that at some point humans that were seeded here, and the Lyrans had a big part in that, had that 12-strand DNA. They would have been incredible creator beings, and then at some point it all got subverted, and of course we have this history which I think really is distorted, that the Anunnaki came along about 400,000 years ago, saw these primitive hominids here, and said, well, we can upgrade them to be workers for us. And so they were upgraded, and they talked about the war against Tiamat and Kingu and the Titans, and how all of that was like, the Anunnaki representing these kind of like, divine human, or these, the creator beings, and that the Titans were actually monsters and all of that. That was actually history being written from the victors. That what may in fact have happened was that before the arrival of the Anunnaki, you had the planet, I don't know if it was populated by or just led by these beings with these kind of Lyran 12-strand genetics, and that they that the Anunnaki started a war of conquest and took over the planet, and called the Lyrans, who were like working with the planetary energy of Tiamat, monsters, and kind of like just depicted them as these monstrosities that deserve to be destroyed. So yeah, do you have anything about that kind of history?
Yeah, well, that's a really interesting point, and that makes sense. The standard Anunnaki story never quite made sense to me. I'm like, how does that all fit? Like, it just felt like there was pieces missing. So I could agree with what you're saying, and I'd love to look into that further. But that reminds me that whenever I went to Egypt back in March, I was surprised how much how many Lyrans I was seeing, and how prominent the Lyran energy. And it felt very ancient, like there were feline beings walking around here. And even at some of the location sites, I was tuning into another reality where it was still populated by these feline beings, and they were being attacked by reptilian and reptilian hybrids probably too. So I was picking up on some of that while I was there. So I think that makes sense, and I'd love to look into that further. But yeah, that makes sense. The regular story, I just feel like there's pieces of the puzzle missing. And yeah, history is often written by the victors. So who knows what they left out or what they altered.
Yeah, for me, having an academic background and looking at like international conflict from a historical perspective, there was a book by Sam Kean called Faces of the Enemy, and it just described the process where you in war, you demonize the enemy, you make them look like monsters. And I think that's exactly when you read the Enuma Elish and you look at it, and it's like, well, the way it describes Tiamat and the forces that fought for her as monsters, well, this is classic demonization, or some call it enmification, where you have the other side demonized. But I think that's pretty much what happened, that the Anunnaki came along and engaged in a war of conquest, took over the planet, and wrote history to make the former ascended 12-strand humans to make them look like monsters, which was the opposite.
Right. Yeah. And even like here in Sedona, where I live, in while I was in Egypt, I was picking up on seeing a lot of visions and things coming up of these wars that happened involving the Anunnaki, and they just like destroyed the planet. Yeah, like some of these places I would see even like laser weapons and things being used to erase history and basically reset humanity. So even some of like these desert places, they look like melted. It's just melted, but it wasn't always like that. So I've been picking up on that on some of these different locations that I'm going, Sedona specifically, Egypt. And it was involving the Anunnaki. Each time I tune into it, that's what I'm getting. Not demonizing all of them and not saying that they're all bad, but I think, yeah, our history's been erased and it's not what we think it is.
Mm-hmm. Now, you've in your recent update, you talked about 3i Atlas and the Saturn control system. Yeah, what is that?
So that was really fascinating. I was not expecting that to come up at all. And this is when I was speaking to the Lyran specifically about this. But so what they showed me, it was as it was coming and moving through the solar system, I actually saw it sending a pulse through Atlas to Saturn. And from my understanding, like Saturn's rings are a control mechanism that kind of keeps humanity down into the 3D illusion, basically. Oh my gosh, I just remembered I woke up in the middle of the night last night and heard moon control matrix dissolving. So I think now they're moving on to the moon. So there's Saturn and then there's a moon, the moon. that has to do with kind of, there's like this dark technology involved that is artificially suppressing humanity, is my understanding. And I haven't done any outside research on this. This is just stuff that's coming to me. But I saw them sending a pulse and to Saturn specifically, and that rippling out and destroying some of that dark inverted technology that's keeping us on kind of this 3D illusion in the matrix, if you will. So the veil's thinning. And something else I was getting messages about, and what went viral after I got these messages like a week and a half before it went viral, was about a rapture-like event. And did you see the rapture was going all viral all over TikTok and all that? I'm like, oh my God, that's crazy. Because at the end of my Charlie Kirk video, I was shown that there would be a rapture-like event. Now, I think this is all connected. The Charlie Kirk thing, there was a huge timeline shift. You've got 3i Atlas coming in. It's interacting with the frequency, with literally our reality, with our consciousness, helping to dissolve the veil. And then this rapture-like event, I think them sending the pulse to Saturn and helping alleviate some of that dark control that's suppressing literally is allowing lost souls to be freed. Now that might sound kind of crazy, but I feel that it's all connected. And I think there's been, I'm getting the word harvested, like there's been kind of like a trap, an artificial trap here on the planet that's like a loose harvesting operation, basically on soul energy and on our minds too. So, yeah, I just think it's very significant. All of these things are happening back to back or all at the same time. So I think them pulsing something to help dismantle some of that control literally is allowing some of these lost souls to be freed, some of these souls to turn to the light, and some of the control mechanisms to ease up.
Well, that's amazing, because I know David Icke talked about the Saturn Moon control system for decades. Actually, I think he's been talking about that, and you're getting similar information, and that this 3i Atlas is sending pulses to undermine that, and that this Saturn Moon control matrix actually sets up this kind of like, this rapture type event. So you want to tell us about this rapture event and the link with Charlie Kirk?
Yeah, so I was actually planning on tuning into that more after this to do a video on it. So I haven't tuned into it. I haven't done a full session on it, I'd say, but I have tuned into it, and I feel that's what happened. So the Charlie Kirk situation was interesting. I experienced a massive timeline split where I physically felt it one night. It was like 2 days after. I think it depended on, it was gauging like the public's reaction to what occurred, the energy that was being put out. I think there was dark and white hats definitely moving in all directions surrounding that situation. But I think it was ultimately a catalyst. A lot of people began praying. I'm not religious, and I'm not saying, pray to God or, whatever. You can do whatever you want. But I'm just saying that I believe that opened a lot of people's eyes, that event, to the corruption and how seriously messed up the planet has become, and the hidden things. I was seeing Israel involved too. I don't know too much about that. But whenever I initially tuned into it, I was seeing that. So I think that's starting to put eyes on that aspect of it in the control matrix. But that was a catalyst, and I literally felt like a timeline split that occurred a couple days where I felt literally me splitting from me and everybody splitting from themselves and going into two different directions. And one of the timelines was a little bit more murky, convoluted, and then this other one was the higher, a little bit better. So I think we are on the highest timeline. There's still push and shove going back and forth. definitely with the dark and light forces. They're going out kicking and screaming is what the Alliance has told me. They've got orders. It's nothing can stop what is coming. The Great Awakening is here, but they're going out kicking and screaming, and things can still there's still a push and shove. We're not completely out of it yet. But anyway, yeah, I think that was a big catalyst moment. At the same time, you've got 3i Atlas sending the pulse, helping to dismantle the dark tech control systems. And then that allowed for like this rapture-like event. A lot of people were praying. A lot of people are waking up to that catalyst event. So hopefully that made sense. I kind of went on a little tangent.
Well, it'd be just interesting to get your thoughts on what this kind of rapture type event would be like, whether that's a positive thing where, you know, people are finding faith, connecting with divine source, or whether it's a negative thing where you have these entities manipulating humans to essentially, buy into some kind of louche farming.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a great question. I think ultimately it's a positive thing. I don't think it's like what people think it's going to be. Personally, over the last few days, I've seen some personal relationships and people that I know kind of turning a new coin and more peace. So I think the rapture event is doing multiple things. It has helped free some trapped, lost souls. It's helped more people turn to the light and kind of get rid of some of these dark entities. But I also feel like it's shaking things up, and there's an increase. We may be experiencing an increase in polarity where more of these parasitic dark entities are kind of showing their faces. And that was one of the things that I got whenever I was tuning into 3i Atlas, was I was seeing masks coming off. Now, the dark rearing its head, and it has to be exposed to be cleared out. So I think that's also kind of part of what this rapture event is doing. People's demons have been coming out to be purged and cleared, even internally. If there's something going on with you, your own shadows, your own wounds coming up to the surface to be cleansed, made aware, cleansed, transmuted, and transcended. So I think it's happening on multiple different layers, if that makes sense. But overall, it is a very benevolent thing, and it's a part of the ascension process. I don't think it's like a scary thing. I don't think half the population is going to disappear. I don't think it's anything like that. I feel like it's a very much an alchemical process, as well as allowing, I kind of see like the planet almost like, it being kind of like caged, and some of that pressure has been released to allow some of this out. Souls, trapped souls, darkness to be transmuted and transcended, if that makes sense.
Well, there have been a lot of rumors that have been circulating that the arrival of 3i Atlas is somehow linked to this meeting that is going to be held at Guantanamo Marine Corps Base, where for the first time ever, like 800 generals, all current serving flag officers from the different military services, are being recalled, and that they're being summoned to some kind of event there that no one knows. And people are speculating, well, this has something to do with 3i Atlas. Well, what's your kind of like, I mean, I don't know if you have any information about that.
So not on that specifically, but what the intuitive feeling that I get that correlates with some of the other information I've been getting over the past few days and couple weeks. Since the information I got last night was that some of these scout ships or smaller ships surrounding 3i Atlas would be landing at starports and meeting with positive human factions. I think that definitely could be playing a role in that meeting. I definitely feel that's a very significant meeting. On the other side of that, I feel I've been getting messages lately about cleanup going on underground. So I think it also has to do with the Luciferian satanic stuff that's going on underground. I think it's a big purging that is happening right now. And some messages that I received from the Alliance months back was that sanctuary cities would fall. Not in a bad way, but the harboring of these trafficking rings, the satanic ritual abuse, all of those things that are going on underground, and the MK Ultra, the mind control, all of those things, they're saying sanctuary cities would fall. And then Trump starts sending people to these big cities. I think he just did Chicago. Well, they DC first, then that started happening. I was like, oh my God, it's literally happening. So I think that there is cleanup going on underground, and I think that's a big part of it as well. And just recently in Sedona, starting on September 18th, I was on a walk at Bell Rock Energy Vortex. And I saw my contact K, my inner earth contact. And she told me that there was cleanup going on underground. This was on the 18th. And there was massive cleanup happening, and kind of like a fight. But there was a fight. It felt more like a fight going on. And she told me, she said, if you see the black helicopters, don't trust them. And within 5 minutes, I kid you not, I saw 2 black choppers, and I could see them off in the distance from my house. They flew right over my house. And then I went home, and they ended up flying over again, and I actually recorded them. They went right over me, and they took a photograph of me. Actually, a video footage of this. But then we had this storm that came out of nowhere. There was a lot of thunder, but we also felt rumbling underground. And then we just had that again for the past 3 days here. And last night, whenever I was tuning into 3i Atlas, I actually saw a different inner earth being. Adama from Telos actually appeared to me, and he pointed downward and he said, there's cleanup going on underground. But now I feel, since the last 2 weeks or so, since I got the initial, it felt more like a fight. This feels like it's being more cleared. And I've been feeling a big shift. So kind of just went on a tangent there, but with that recent information that I've been getting about underground cleanup and stuff happening in St. Louis as well, under Busch Stadium, which is where I grew up and I used to live. I saw an elite trafficking ring going on under there. I saw, I saw children in cages under there. But I heard that it was being cleared out. There were forces going in and cleaning out some of those things. So I believe it has to do with that, and probably 3i Atlas as well.
Yeah, I think that's very important. The clearing out of the underground bases, and that is something that I'm certain the Trump administration wants to make sure that of those 800 generals that have been recalled, how many have been compromised by these Satanists, by this deep state cabal. There was a wife of a U.S. Marine Corps Colonel, Kathy Griggs, as I recall. Like, she came out 20 years ago, and she just talked about the corruption in the high-level military, in terms of flag officers being compromised by these Satanists. And she talked about it back then. Kathy Griggs, very brave woman. Mm-hmm. And I believe her husband was murdered, a full colonel, Marine Corps colonel. He was caught up in it. But there is this battle to kind of rid flag officers or purge flag officers who are compromised by international Satanism. So it makes sense if you're clearing out sanctuary cities, if you're clearing out underground bases, you're taking action against the satanic deep state forces, that you would want to get all the generals in one place and kind of purge the ones that are compromised. And the U.S. Marine Corps Quantico base is probably perfect for that, because of its history and the history of the US Marine Corps in kind of like purging the military of deep state influences.
Right. Yeah. And I see it as it's a virus, the infiltration. It's literally like a virus. And I think some people get into it without even realizing it because the dark can be very tricky. They can trick you into consenting. They can trick you, manipulate you, compromise you, put you in these different situations. So I think it's been a virus that's taken over a lot. So yeah, I would agree with that a purging in that way has to take place as well. Who can you trust?
Right. Yeah, it's very interesting also that this is a worldwide effort. I mean, it's not just happening in the US, and it was very interesting that I saw this story just the other day where there was this, let me bring that up. Yeah. So Russia to seize assets of international Satanists. That, here you have President Putin leading this effort to rid the assets of international Satanists. So this is not just conspiracy theory. This is not just people like just kind of like running with crazy ideas. It's like this is a genuine international effort by positive white hats, Earth Alliance forces to kind of like battle against the global influence of these international Satanists.
Right. It very much is a battle of dark and light. You've got the polarity. So if you have God source and the God source, whatever you want to call it, within us, and we're all pieces of that. We're co-creators. And that's, our highest potential, aligning with our higher selves, embodying that. Well, the opposite is going to be the satanic, the darkest of the dark, the corruption of innocence. So it's very much like it's been a battle of the bloodlines is actually what comes to mind here on the planet for thousands of years. Who knows how long, really. And it's been very deep, and it's been very hidden. A lot of people don't want to believe that that's been in control on the planet and running rampant on the planet. And it was even hard for me. Sometimes it's even hard for me to believe at times. But once you open your eyes to that and begin to see, like, they show their signs and symbology all over the place. It really is very much like that. And it runs rampant on the planet. And like I said, it's like a virus. So we're clearing that. And maybe they have the option to return to the light. Maybe it's just been a curse. I think there's many different layers to it, but yeah, we're purging that out.
So, from the perspective of people watching this and kind of like hearing everything you've been sharing and we've been discussing, I mean, many people might say, well, what can I do? I mean, what in the midst of all of this, white hat, black hat, satanic struggle, 3i Atlas, different ET groups coming in, codes being activated. What can I do to make a positive contribution? What do you say to people like that?
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. And really, all the power is within you, no matter what's going on out there. And it's all frequency. It really is. Like, what frequency are you tuning into? What frequency are you co-creating? And every single one of us is so powerful. We have the power to influence, to impact positively the collective. As for 3i Atlas, one of the messages that the Lyrans gave me was that you can't. So the codes are coming in, these activations and upgrades are coming in. You may feel, they told me, like the hand chakras are activating and upgrading, which is healing. The energy goes in and out. Our other chakra system is being upgraded and activated right now. Your third eye, you might literally feel like a pressure, or you might get headaches or other symptoms like that. So that's already happening. But if you focus on the heart, if you put yourself from the logical mind into the heart and expand that, then you can amplify the process like 1,000-fold. You can really take advantage of this window and these upgrades right now and really help positively impact, well, yourself and outside. They've said this is a very strong alchemical process that we're going through right now. So you can spend time in nature. You can spend time meditating. I also have tons of activations and meditations and things working with Lyrans and other groups. I'm probably going to be doing a higher heart chakra activation with the Lyrans on my YouTube channel. So you can do activities like that. And like right now, you can quantum leap into just activating something completely dormant. That's amazing. The amount of downloads and clarity and just positive experiences that people are having, especially since 3i Atlas has been approaching Earth, and since like this timeline split that we experienced after the Charlie Kirk event, it's quite incredible, the shift that we're experiencing right now. So I'd say that's the number one thing, and just trust, have faith, and be in the heart as much as you can.
Thank you for that answer. I think it's very important that we explore ways to like open our heart to be in that place where we connect with others by the heart. Now, as far as extraterrestrials arriving and of course them representing ancient frequency codes and ancient knowledge, there's a kind of heart-opening aspect to that as well, because they're our ancient cousins and brethren and so forth. But there's also a lot of religions, organized religions, kind of have these depictions of extraterrestrials as almost like demonic. I mean, I know that's the split at the moment in the West, in Christendom. You have evangelical Christians, and the majority of those guys believe that extraterrestrials are demons. And then you have Catholics, and they've been kind of like trained, or they've been told by the Catholic Church hierarchy that the extraterrestrials are our returning brothers in Christ, that they can be baptized and things like that. So you have this kind of split with organized religion. So how do you deal with that? I mean, organized religion taking people in these different directions, and this kind of heart opening that we need to go through to really be prepared for what's going on.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that is kind of a symptom of what we're experiencing with the higher frequencies is like this kind of increased polarity. I think that's just a natural part of the process, this increased polarity of dark and light as it gets stronger, and then eventually it'll even out and we'll kind of like break through. So we might have some very opinionated people talking about, especially whenever I used to post a lot of UFO footage, they're demons. And I kind of feel bad for them. Yes, there are dark extraterrestrials, but I think that's largely just a psyop to keep you small and boxed in and controlled. So I'm hoping as these literal control mechanisms, like with Saturn, the moon, all of that are being dissolved, the veil is being dissolved, and the codes that are interacting with us and the sun energy, it's just raising our frequency, and eventually people hopefully are going to start having epiphanies and revelations. Or something may bring them together where they can open their heart to new possibilities. Like with the Charlie Kirk event, for example, I feel like, yes, it separated a lot of people and it caused more polarity, but in another sense, it brought so many people together in opening their hearts that I feel allowed kind of a new wave to begin ushering in awakening. So it's a process, but yeah, I think we'll get there. Some of the people are a little bit more programmed than others, with that. And then who knows, like some messages that I got a couple years back was that the Pope, now I don't know specifically which one, would be helping to bring in disclosure. So I think there's got to be some sort of a bridge that's going to come into place that will ease the transition.
Well, certainly, looking at how different Christian groups have been regarding disclosure, I mean, the Catholics have been much more open to the idea of extraterrestrials being our brothers, in that they are ethically more evolved than us, and that they can like accept the word of or like the whole kind of good news that Jesus died for our sins and saved us, that these positive extraterrestrials can accept that, because Jesus is unique to the Earth, because Earth is so depraved as a planet, that we needed Jesus to come here and die for our sins, but that wouldn't happen on the Pleiades or on Arcturus, because they're so ethically evolved, but that they can see that the message of Jesus is something that is universal. And so the Catholic Church, I think at the end of the day, has positioned itself to like develop a cosmic religion that they want to baptize extraterrestrials into. I mean, this is not a joke. I mean, this is actually part of the Catholic doctrine. So the Catholic Church does see itself having a post-disclosure role.
Wow, that's interesting. Yeah, I mean, there's still a little distortion in there, but it's a step, I guess, in an interesting direction. At least they're not demonizing them. So I think that's a step. It's happening in phases and in waves. So it'll be really interesting to see how it plays out.
Yeah, it's very strange to see one branch of Christianity kind of like moving towards embracing them as these as our potential brothers in Christ and so forth, being baptized, and the others saying, oh, they're demons, and let's go to war against them if they ever show up. And it's like really strange. And I kind of feel as though those of us that are outside of organized religion, we represent this kind of third way, which is, well, let's take them all on their merits, and let's open our hearts and like understand that they are our ancestors, and we're connected with them, and we will grow as a result of working with them.
Right. And in these other theories, like the people who are ready, it's finding them. Like I'm thinking of like the Native Americans and the Kachina is what comes to mind. Like they talk about making contact with these extraterrestrial beings, that they are our ancestors. So I think people are starting to open their mind and migrate to that. You can't force somebody, but eventually there's going to be something that shifts their consciousness.
Yes. Well, let's hope so. I think there's a lot of work cut out for us in the years ahead as humanity starts to deal with the reality of these issues. So anything, any final words you want to say about the whole 3i Atlas and the upgrading of the frequencies in our solar system and the codes and activation of 12-strand DNA?
Yeah. Well, I wanted to add just something else to what you were just saying versus the 100th monkey effect also, which I'm sure you've heard of that. Since we're all connected, humanity, as one of us raise our frequency and expands our consciousness, it's going to happen through osmosis to everybody else. It's just going to be a bit of a process to get there. So that's why it's so important, especially with 3i Atlas coming in. A lot of the messages that I've been really receiving a boost in recently, as we're able to receive these codes and upgrades, is focusing inward, opening your heart, and then that ripples out. And who knows, we could wake up tomorrow and something totally new and amazing, like a massive revelation could occur that shifts the public's perspective or perception and is gets us going in the right direction. And then we also have the other things with like those meetings taking place, cleaning up the dumps and all of that. There's many different components going on. But I think number one thing is focusing on your heart. Actually, I wanted to add one other thing. Just the other day, I connected with 3i Atlas, but not to receive messages about it or not to connect with any beings. I just set the intention to connect with the ship itself. And I had a very interesting experience whenever I did this. The ship is conscious, and it felt like, this might sound weird, but it felt like connecting with the consciousness of like a whale or a dolphin is what it felt like. Like I experienced a shift in my consciousness, like an expansion. And I was just kind of connecting with this living consciousness that felt wise and ancient. So I would encourage people, you can try that if you'd like, or just try connecting with your heart. Right now is a great time to connect with your star family to really help propel you and to help raise your frequency and kind of take advantage of what we're going on right now, what we've got going on right now.
Yeah, that's kind of very interesting what you just said about connecting with the dolphins and the whales, because I just came back from a dolphin excursion on Bimini in the Bahamas, and that's me with the dolphins. And what I can say is that definitely when you're swimming with these beings, dolphins and whales, you definitely experience a heart opening, a connection.
Yeah.
And I forgot what it was like, because I lived in Hawaii for 17 years and we often swam with the dolphins, and so we went. So my wife registered me for this retreat, a dolphin swimming retreat, and it was beautiful, and the heart just opens up with these dolphins, because that's the way they communicate. They communicate through heart language. It's just wonderful to be in their presence, and so I would definitely recommend people to do dolphin retreats or whale retreats. We live in a part of the world where thankfully you can still do that, but wonderful. I think anything that can kind of like open up our heart energies, and of course the dolphins, they are really extraterrestrials. I mean, they're not they're not terrestrials, they're extraterrestrials really. They don't live on the land, they're ocean dwelling. And I remember from the 1960s, at the time they said that there were only two intelligent species on planet Earth, humans and cetaceans.
Wow.
That was the John Lilly group, and that were exploring that. So definitely. Thank you for reminding us about the dolphin and whale energies. Really incredible. So any retreats, any kind of special classes you got coming up that you would recommend to people?
Well, I have in October Sedona retreat coming up. There's one slot left, and that's kind of last second, but there's one slot left right now. It's a Vortex Tour spiritual transformation retreat here in Sedona, October 20th through 24th. Besides that, I also have a Lyran activation coming up that I'll be hosting, which you can sign up for that on my website under workshops. But it's going to be a full-blown, like at least hour-long session working with the Lyrans, working with these codes, working with the DNA, and working with upgrades. So I have that coming up October 18th, which you can sign up for now. And I also have different workshops that can really help people at this time. I have a DNA activation kit program, a DNA activation workshop on training you how to do it with a 1-hour session at the end. I also have a psychic development class and a deep chakra healing available under workshops. And right now, I actually, in honor of 3i Atlas, I have 22% off of my website with code Atlas. So that's on there. And then I also have tons of free resources on YouTube as well, different activations, working with star family and things like that. But I mean, I'm telling you, the amount of beautiful experiences that I've had since connecting with 3i Atlas, the beautiful energies coming in, the clarity, the clear communication with star family, the ships showing up, like it's a really magical time right now to be connecting. So I really encourage people to do that in whatever way they feel called to do so.
And your website, of course, is lilynorvacontact.com. So people can go there to learn more about Lily. And do you have plans to write a book, Lily?
Yeah, well, I do have one book, Contact, and that's like the beginning of my journey. It's available on Amazon and on Audible. That goes through my contact experiences, and it has a lot of footage. It has Starseed Boot Camp in it, like the messages from the extraterrestrials that I received, how they trained me to activate psychic abilities, how they trained me to activate DNA. So it's a great story. It's very activating. A lot of people report having experiences with star beings and UFOs from reading it. So it carries that frequency, actually. So you can have profound transformation just from reading the book. And I also plan on writing a second one, but I have not started on that. But there will be more to come.
Okay, well, thank you for reminding us about the book you already have written. I did forget about that, but you got that, and I'm glad you're writing a second one.
Yeah.
Well, it's been great having you on the show again. I think you've really given us a lot to think about, and thank you for giving us the latest information about 3i Atlas. I think that's very important, and the purging and the clearing of the underground bases and restoring the original genetic code, all very important, and of course the heart center.
Yeah. Thank you so much. And thank you for all of the amazing work that you have been doing. Like we really,
thank you, Lily.
Yeah, you've been putting out some really good stuff. And so I just really appreciate, and I really love your research and non-biased approach to everything, just looking at everything with an open mind. I think that's very important. And of course, having discernment and teaching people to have discernment is super important right now. So thank you so much. And thanks for having me.
Thank you.
You have been listening to Exopolitics Today with Dr. Michael Salla. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe to this channel. Join or start a conversation in the comments. Take the time to explore the vast library of best-selling books, webinars, and podcasts by Dr. Salla. Visit exopoliticstoday.com.